Tony, is Drive Shack dead?
I haven't been to one in a while.
What?
Topgolf wasn't full.
That's right. We did use, that's fair. I mean, my question, Drive Shack was just like Topgolf, right? Same premise, same idea. Topgolf has gone through the roof, right? How come Drive Shack didn't have the same success?
I think maybe the light beer and fajitas aren't as good at Drive Shack. That's the best explanation I have.
All right, everybody. How you living? No putts given. We're back. Tony Covey, Chris Nickel, Golf Spy T, Golf Spy C, dark shirts, light hats, black coat, white shoes, Cadillac, yeah. That's a lyric from a song.
Something like that.
Something like that. Anyway, let's jump right in. Tony, who? Adams? Did I see something about Adams Golf? Return of the Mac? Return of the Adams? What is going on?
We got a lot of new stuff from Adams Golf all of a sudden.
Tell me about this. Give me the skinny, because I've not been paying as much attention to this one as I have some other topics we're going to talk about. Because first of all, I couldn't read the logo. I wasn't sure what I was looking at. I didn't know if it was NASA or like a spaceship or something. But turns out it's Adams Golf.
Yeah, no, it's a new, modern, hip, cool logo. I think that's the objective. Trying to get younger, trying to get fresh, trying to be cool again-ish, maybe. So, yeah, we got a first, and I kind of thought about it, went digging through the archives. You got to go back basically about a decade since you had kind of a full line from Adams. Like even Adams Blue, which, apart from being a bad idea, was a partially formed bad idea, not a complete lineup there.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, you got everything. This is driver all the way down to putters. So it just all in Adams. It's a DTC offering. So not going to be in retail shops. A little bit, a little consumer. Bit PXG, a little bit sub 70 vibe. So with that, you do get some pretty exciting pricing. $399 driver, $199 fairway, $179 hybrid.
Okay.
$599, $699 for irons, depending on steel or graphite. $99 wedges.
Woo!
Kind of weird wedges, but wedges nonetheless.
Under $100.
And $149 for a C groove putter, and this is yes style. Pause. For real C groove, not some reproduction BS. This is they went back to track down the original tooling.
You got to help me out here. So catch me up, because at one point Adams Golf was under the TaylorMade umbrella. At one point it wasn't under any umbrella. It was its own umbrella. And then, like you said, you had Yes Putters, which was a separate entity. If you've seen kind of those concentric looking kind of half moon grooves on the putter. If you've seen our good friend Matt Fitzpatrick has actually had Bettinardi do that exact.
We don't like to talk about the Bettinardi C groove.
Oh, okay. So whatever. But point being, that was there. This was over here. So who is Adams now? Where did it? I thought it was gone and dead, and now it's back.
Yeah.
Who owns it? What's the deal?
So yeah, for a while it seemed like it was gone. Right, we did the blue-red lineup, and then sort of disappeared, faded into Bolivian, as Mike Tyson would say. And then a couple of years back, it just kind of quietly re-emerged with really what amounts to like infomercial product. Again, direct to consumer, not really designed for the masses, kind of like old man fairway woods and hybrids, and those came quietly and kicked around. They tested okay for us, but they weren't needle movers. TaylorMade, still Adams falls under the same. It's kind of a sister brand, right? Still under that TaylorMade corporate umbrella. Kind of admitted that lineup was really almost just a placeholder to say, look, we still exist.
Right.
And so now we're back with a full-on Adams lineup.
So it was kind of like the the coat you throw over the chair waiting for somebody to show up at the restaurant, just kind of a placeholder. Like, yeah, we got 5 sitting for dinner.
They
6
save the
here.
seat. They save the seat.
Save a seat. So who is this for? Who do you think? Because under TaylorMade umbrella, we got that. You mentioned kind of the price point, so it's somewhere in between, retail market premium and, it's not big box or box set type of,
Yeah, we'll dig into the specifics here a little later at the after show. But yeah, the whole idea behind this, the tagline is built for play. And it's, I'd say it's kind of targeting. Well, I mean, it is precisely targeting somebody. Like TaylorMade is filthy dialed in on their analytics. So they know exactly who they're going for with this. But it really is kind of, you could say, a younger golfer, part of the new generation that came in as a result of COVID. I would describe it as a semi-serious golfer. Like he somebody who plays golf with his buddies, wants to win, is serious in that respect, but at the same time doesn't completely lose his crap when he doesn't win, if he doesn't play well. So go out, have a good time, have fun, made for play. So it's, again, kind of a serious but with a fun slant, I guess, if you will.
Like I said, we're going to dig way more later. If you want to stick around for the after party, we're going to go through all that and then some. We're not huge fans of what's in the bag stuff typically. So here's a little new feature called What's Not in the Bag. And it's not so much about what's actually not in the bag, but one thing being interesting.
That is misleading, Chris.
It's totally misleading, but I couldn't come up with a better name on short notice. So I'm calling it What's Not in the Bag.
If you've got a better name, please. It can't be that hard to
let me
do
know.
Better.
But here's what we're going to tell you. So you take a winner like this last week, Tony Finau, who we know has been with Ping for a long time. And it's not surprising at all when you see somebody who's on staff with a company playing equipment from that company. Nobody's surprised to see Tony Finau playing Blueprint irons, right? Or a couple Glide 4.0 wedges, right? We're not surprised to see those things. Not surprised to see him playing a Ping driver. But what I do find interesting at times is when you look in bags of players, maybe they have a 10 club contract, maybe it's 11, maybe it's 12, whatever the case is, and they have a couple open spots, how they choose to fill those spots. So it's like what's not in the bag, kind of like what you're not being paid to play.
Boy, that's a lot of effort to get there, but
still decided, because I think that says something. Like, it's interesting to me with Tony Finau, 3 things that I noticed right away. 1, he's playing left dot, Tony. Very low launch.
I think he's buying them on eBay.
Well, if he is, he's paying about $100 a dozen. I doubt it. I think the good people at Titleist take care of him. He also
one would hope.
One would hope. He is also playing a Callaway Paradigm Triple Diamond T fairway wood, 3 wood.
Paradigm fingers.
So he has Callaway fairway wood. He also has a Nike 3-iron, the old Vapor Fly Pro or Vapor Pro Fly, one or the other.
Same one Brooks plays, right?
So for all...
Have we inadvertently discovered the greatest Nike club ever made?
I was going to say, for all the lemons that Nike came to market with, there were some good clubs, no doubt. But this thing exists in perpetuity. Some of these guys that are very high launch, or can be high launch, high spin, fast players, again, Brooks, absolutely, Finau, absolutely, cannot get this 3-iron out of the bag. That's super interesting. And 2 of his 3 wedges are Ping. Again, no surprise. But Tony, the trend is that if you are a serious golfer, sure seems to be this case, and you have a spot available in your bag for a 60-degree wedge, it sure seems like the stock 60-degree wedge on the PGA Tour is becoming Titleist
T-grind.
So those are what's not in the bag, or what he's not being paid to play directly. I find that interesting. Do you find that interesting, or do you not care?
Now that Nike is interesting. The company still exists, right? Even if there's not Nike Golf, there's still Nike. They could re-release that thing, and I'm not saying they'd sell 1 million of them. They'd sell maybe 50 to 100, but it'd be fun. Some
Would you
buzz
buy one?
now, right?
If they're smart, they would do it right around the Open, British Open, the Open, whatever you call it. Don't yell at me. Driving
The
iron
Open
time.
Championship.
We tend to see those clubs come out, around that time. Love to see Nike re-release an Open edition, Vapor Fly.
Oh, there we go.
Vapor
Yeah.
Fly Pro Fly.
Let's
Open
theme
edition.
it, call it a limited edition. Have some fun.
You'll sell twice as many if you just call it limited edition, right?
That's right.
Tony, is Drive Shack dead?
I haven't been to one in a while. What? Topgolf wasn't full.
That's right. We did use, that's fair. I mean, my question, Drive Shack was just like Topgolf, right? Same premise, same idea. Topgolf has gone through the roof, right? I mean, it is expansive. They're actually talking about building another one about 2 miles away from my house. It's exploded. How come Drive Shack didn't have the same success? Or are we just seeing kind of a natural ebb and flow to what consumers are kind of willing to invest in?
I think maybe the light beer and fajitas aren't as good at Drive Shack. That's the best explanation I have.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Is there demand for two of these things? Is there really that much? I don't know. I don't know why it hasn't taken off. It just didn't, and I don't think it will.
What's more likely? Let me ask you this question. I'll ask you this way. What's more likely to happen? That we see another resurgence of a direct competitor to a Topgolf, so something like this, or do we see more of these like short course, pop stroke, putt on steroids type of opportunities for golfers? Because what's undeniable is we're seeing golf and entertainment mix. It's going to continue to mix. You got the X golf indoor stuff. We have some of these outdoor pursuits. I think you even spent some time at a Pop Golf recently.
Pop stroke? Did you say
Pop stroke,
golf?
Pop Golf? See,
why not? Let's throw it all together.
Pop Golf.
Boom. Yeah. No,
did you like it? Was it fun? Can you see that winning out over the Top Golf model moving forward, or what?
I think something about mini golf is inherently more accessible. My wife and daughter went with me, and they had a good time. And not to say they wouldn't necessarily have had a good time at Top Golf, but it certainly would have been harder for them to hit balls, as they're not golfers. Whereas, so Top Golf, there's obviously you don't have to be a golfer. We've seen enough videos to know
this to be true.
There's a reason why they've got nets to catch people who fall out of bays. But I do think just mini golf is inherently more accessible. Like, was I blown away by Pop Stroke? I thought it was fine. I can see okay, they'll bring you beer on the course, and that can be cool, I guess, right? That's all part of the vibe there. But at the end of the day, it was like a nice mini golf course.
Really,
it wasn't whoa. Yeah, I live near a resort town, Lake George. We've got some pretty damn ghetto mini golf courses, but we've got a lot of them. And so, some of the older ones versus like when Pirates Hideout or Pirate
Cove,
Pirate Cove, right? Like the chain.
Or Pirates Hideout, whatever.
That's whatever, right? That's a step above sort of the been here since 1920 with the original turf and literal tin cups that we have at some of the older places. But I mean, it's not, at the end of the day, it's still mini golf. It's not anything super special.
I think it looks cool. We'll see what happens.
It's cool, but it's not like, oh my God, I got to do that again and again and again and again. Like, I'm in if I never went to a Pop Stroke again, I'd be fine.
You pull through.
I would get through this life. Yeah.
I'm an aspiring golfer, Tony, meaning I have aspirations of becoming better. How do I know when I should maybe level up in terms of my equipment? We always talk about, there's a range, from clubs that are designed for newer golfers, lesser skilled golfers, and stuff that's designed for more skilled golfers. How do I know? Let's just say I play game improvement irons. I play a solid game improvement iron. How do I know when I should maybe upgrade to a player's iron or a player's distance iron?
Yeah, when the numbers say so. So when you're seeing demonstrably
Which
better
numbers?
results, and there's not, like it's the same thing. It's am I getting the launch and spin parameters that I need? Are my descent angles what they need to be? It's not sort of like you cross this magic threshold where I'm like, I went from a 12 to a 10, time to get less forgiving irons. That's ultimately what it comes down to in that kind of thinking. And really, you still have to deliver all the bits and pieces that go into the scoring equation. You have to deliver those regardless of your ability level. And kind of one of the things that occurred to me as I was answering this question in the Ask My Golf Spy is I look at myself over the past few years. I've gotten several strokes better. I've gone from probably a 14 down to an 8, really trying hard to get back to a 14. I mean, I'm doing everything I absolutely can, and maybe
You're
even go
get
beyond
there,
that.
You will
I might
get there.
go 16, 18. The sky's the limit.
I
here.
got faith in
but
you.
With all of that said, as I've gotten better, what that really means is I've gotten more consistent. Like I deliver the club more consistently, but the way that I deliver it hasn't changed much. I still hit it high. I still generate a lot of spin. And so the same iron that worked for me at a 14, the same kind of design, something that does at times bring the flight down, takes a little bit of spin out, whatever, those type of things, they still work for me as I've gotten better. So I don't necessarily think that a mindset of I got better, I'm going to go out and buy, again, less forgiving irons in many cases.
Right. More workable,
right? Like I don't need more workability. I just need to hit the same damn shot over and over again. That works. You want to talk about workability? That works.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally it's not has my game gotten better? It's has the way I delivered the club changed? If that's, if you're basically doing what you've always done and you're just scoring better, that's probably not the right time to change irons.
Yeah, my other way of, and this might be overly simplistic, but I was kind of thinking about this. Nobody starts out well. Maybe some people do. I certainly didn't start out as a good golfer. Anything you start, over here, and maybe you improve over time. And I was thinking about it. Okay, what if I only changed clubs when there was something that my existing club couldn't do that I thought it needed to be able to do to help me shoot a lower score? Then you replace it. So it's like, okay, with the set of irons, like, man, is there a particular shot that I absolutely cannot hit that I need to be able to hit if I want to shoot lower scores? And if you can't answer that relatively quickly, you probably don't need to change much of anything. Unless you're just,
if you are dialed in on a set of irons and being dialed in with those irons helped you lower your handicap, the impulse should not be to get rid of those irons and get something else. Again, unless you said, right, are these clubs holding me back? Is there something I fundamentally can't do with what I have?
Yep.
In most cases, the answer is probably going to be no.
Right.
And if your swing hasn't changed, and the only thing that has changed are your scores have gotten lower because you're swinging your swing more consistently,
stick with it.
It's a tough argument to make for saying, oh yeah, by all means, go change just because. Because scores.
You look, Tony, like you've been spending some time in the depths of a ball lab, digging up results and things. 2 balls.
Anybody want 3 dozen Pro V1?
Yeah, those look good. Those look nice. So
several, way more than 3 dozen pieces.
So give me the quick update. Last week we came out with Max Fly. That was
Max
the first
Fly
of the new
Tour. Yeah, the 2023 Max Fly Tour.
So 3 new balls from Max Fly Tour, Tour X, Tour S. You ran the Tour through the gauntlet, and not super surprising, but it did really, really well from what I gathered from it. What's your 30-second report card on Max Fly Tour?
Above average. I'm trying to pull it.
Was like 87 maybe?
No, like 82, 83. I'm trying to.
No, 87. It was 87. I don't know.
It was not.
I'm making that up. I think it was like 12 points above our current average.
Max Fly Tour 82. So okay. That's 10 points above the database average, 9 points above the database average. Yeah. So above average, not absolutely outstanding, but based on the way Ball Lab works, absolutely outstanding is balls are few and far between. Almost nothing gets there. So. Yeah, so really solid ball. we've seen some duds every now and again out of Foremost in Taiwan,
Right.
but in totality, in what we can call the Ball Lab era, since we've started measuring golf balls, I would say that the Foremost factory is, based on anything that we have meaningful sample size from, the second best factory in the world right now. And yeah, I think Callaway appears to be creeping up there.
Yep.
But right now, that Foremost factory has a long-standing Ball Lab reputation of turning out quality balls. I mean, we've got a lot of good Max Fly. Wilson balls come out of there, done really well.
Correct.
Some of the Vice stuff that's come out of there has done really well. Like I said, we've had a miss here and there. Encore stuff comes out of there, typically does in the average to above average range. So,
I mean, so who's on that podium? You said, if they're two, let's say Titleist is number one, right? Absolutely. I mean, Titleist by far their podium gold medal right there. We'll give the silver to Foremost. Who's your third? If you had to put another one on the podium right now.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a crapshoot. We saw some good stuff. I mean, I'm curious.
Is Callaway
to see,
there yet? TaylorMade?
Callaway's creeping up. I think Nassau, aka TaylorMade Korea right now.
Okay.
And the only thing we've tested since the ownership change is the tour response, and that was exceptional. Some of the Snell stuff that came out of Nassau in the past was really solid as well. So we don't have a ton of stuff out there, but that's certainly one I would think about. Like I said, I'm optimistic that Callaway is creeping up there. We've seen improvements from Shrixon. Bridgestone we know is capable of doing good work. We haven't always seen it, but we know it's in the mix there. But yeah, I mean, that's yeah, those are 1, 2, and then 3, fight it out. Maybe in a year it's settled. But
speaking of number one, you did also run the 2023 Titleist Pro V1 through the gauntlet. What'd you find? Are people going to be happy? Are they going to be sad? Are they going to be disappointed? Or what we expected? No
bad balls. Average for weight, average for diameter, and then crept into the good range for compression consistency, that is the one place where Titleist has continued to excel. I would say, weight is typically average. Diameter fell on the high end of the average range. So almost popping it up into that next one. And if it had crossed that threshold, the score would have been 90. Settles in at 85, which is still good enough for what we call our Golf Ball Quality Award. We give it to anything that hits 85 or above. And in the history of Ball Lab now, we're creeping towards 80 models. And I think we've maybe got like 15 or so
qualify in that exceptional category.
So
is that what you expected though? Like, I mean, when you go in, I mean, the numbers are what they are. You put it on the gauge, you measure it, stuff comes out, you figure, you look at that. We've seen Titleist balls pop in the mid 90s. I mean, we've seen some stuff over 90 for sure. This one comes in just a hair under 90. Any disappointment there, or
no? And you can, I reference it. If you look the side by side chart we put up, you can see kind of a little bit of, the third dozen has just a little more variability. It's as good, if not better than most anything else we see, but by Titleist standards, a little more variability than we normally see. And again, just in that third dozen, and had that third dozen been just a little bit tighter, I think it bumps the overall score up. I'm not going to run fake math to see if that's true, but yeah, I think logically, based on how the system works, just a little bit of variability. And again, not bad, just not as tight as some of the stuff we've seen from Titleist. But otherwise, just really good. And my expectation with Titleist is I'm very rarely going to find a bad ball.
Right. And when I do, this one had 0 bad balls, so the true price is what you pay
and you're not
for.
going to find bad balls for, concentricity stuff happens to everybody.
Sure.
It is almost unavoidable, but it happens to the highest quality brands less.
Sure.
But things like having a ball over the weight limit, that shouldn't happen, because you can check along the way. Balls being undersized, you can kind of check that as you go. And so that it's very rare, especially when we get into the premium stuff, your urethane coated stuff from Titleist Pro V1 Series AVX. It's very rare, if ever, that we see those kind of mistakes. So I expect a relatively clean sheet, if you will, from Titleist, and then it's just coming down to, hey, I'm typically compression sneaks into the good, and it's just whether or not diameter or weight, either one of those measurements can pop up into that good
Can
range
offset,
as well.
yeah.
And sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. As in this case, it was really close. So if I see 85, there's a reason why that's our threshold for a quality award. It doesn't happen often. That's a really good score. First time we've seen it in 2023. So we'll see.
So there you go. And it's interesting thinking about MaxFly and Titleist. A lot of times, people ask us, hey, should I spend X amount on Y product? And we kind of have, told people historically different categories. Hey, if your measurement, right? If your main objective is to get the best of the best and price isn't the ultimate consideration, go with this. If it is, or you're looking for the best value based on what it is, then
the best product at a good price,
go with this. So it's like, Titleist, MaxFly really kind of fit into that conversation very nicely. Rangefinders, as we've seen in our testing, now it's the far and away winner. If money isn't as much of an issue, you're willing to spend, call it $400 to $600 on a rangefinder. What are you going to buy?
Bushnell.
Bushnell. Hands down. Bushnell. Now, I will say the new one, $600. The Pro X. Ooh, that stings a little, Tony. That's
and especially like
it's a big lift.
It won. It's a very good unit for sure. But the only thing it really does is find the range. Like it doesn't.
It's a rangefinder. It's supposed to.
Sticks. It's true to its name. Not and it has every bell and whistle you should reasonably expect from a rangefinder.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's just a really good but expensive rangefinder. But there are a lot of categories where you can make an argument for several products where you're like, well, if you want this, you want that. With rangefinders, to me, it's becoming very, very simple. If you want the best product, it's a Bushnell. Period.
Yeah.
End of conversation. Now, and that's if price is no object. If price is an issue, if you're looking for the best value, which ultimately becomes the best mix of performance and value, ShotScope has kind of stepped into that space now.
Killing
Precision
it.
Pro's still pretty good, but ShotScope has really emerged as our value pick and certainly within the last year.
Yeah, I'm not going to kick Precision Pro out of the conversation. That's where they started X number of years ago and really kind of made a name for themselves. Since then, they've expanded and gone multiple different directions on different levels. Still make very, very good product at a very, very affordable price. But what we've seen, when we have to pick one, right, a best value for that particular year, ShotScope has to be that one. So if you're not looking to break the bank, I think we even have a deal going on. We'll link it below. You can get a rangefinder for under $100. You can literally buy.
So my golf spy exclusive deal.
6 ShotScope rangefinders. Give 5 away to people. They'll love you forever for the same price as our number one rangefinder of the year.
This is the ShotScope Pro L2, which was our best value pick in the 2023 test. Limited time offer. I believe it expires today, being Wednesday. So the first day that this podcast publishes. What's the code, Chris?
I think we'll link the landing page below. You can just click on that page and go right to it.
All right. And then the other one I'll mention, right? Like we talked about premium value, and then one that's kind of that one that answers a question: what if you are a golfer that has shaky hands, and we know this is a real thing. A lot of the guys I play with, getting older, my hands I'm finding aren't even as steady as they used to be. The Nikon with the vibration reduction technology is a cut above. And really, if that's what you're looking for, if that is like, hey, I need a rangefinder and I need something that will be steady when I can't hold it steady.
Yeah.
Nikon CoolShot Pro, now version 2, I guess, is where we are, is just, that's a cut above in that respect. Just
like you said. So if it's absolute top performer, there's an answer. If it's best value, there's an answer. And like I said, if it's a feature specific thing where it's like, hey, I need I'm looking to buy a shirt, but it has to come in double XL or whatever it is. I absolutely need something. Okay, this one wins. So if you have shaky hands at all, or that's hard for you to lock on to a target, Nikon is the absolute go-to. What time is it, Tony?
Is it mailbag time?
Nope.
Okay.
You need running shoes for this, though.
Okay.
Speed golf.
Speed golf. All right. I love speed golf. That's fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really fast
run
today. Because we're
ready?
deep into it.
Are you ready to run, Tony? Ready to run. Question number 1. Mizuno or Strixon?
Mizuno.
Why?
I'm familiar with it. Comfortable with it. Like I'm the wrong guy because I've never really had a chance to play Strixon irons.
Yeah.
You know me.
Like I asked the question.
It shows up in my house. I'll give it a try. If it doesn't show up at my house, the test center's not here anymore. That's just how it is.
This is true. People at the test center at our HQ swear by Strixon. Strixon does not get the love it should. It's an endo forging. It's something that we're going to come back to here in a couple of weeks, hopefully with an article kind of digging in there. But like you, I'm Mizuno. Played Mizuno forever. Love them. They are a benchmark, but I will say Strixon does not get the love that it should. Question 2, Tony. Are you going to spend $600 on a rangefinder? Too much?
Yeah. I mean, if only because 600's like you can buy a driver for that, and you shouldn't even have to pay that much for a driver. But that's just how the world works. But the thing is, like you can find a really competent Bushnell rangefinder for $500, for $400.
How long? Let me ask you differently. Then, how long would you need to keep a $600 rangefinder for you to feel like, hey, I got my money's worth out of that thing?
6 years. Call it $100 a year.
Call it $100 a year. Yeah, so if you can guarantee you can keep it for 6 years,
man.
You're gonna hold on to it. 6 years, $100 a year. You're good.
Yeah.
Okay. The stack system, Tony. You and I are both big stack proponents.
I'm so embarrassed.
Over the last little bit here, it's more like I think you coined this phrase, so I'll give you credit for it. The Slack system. We've been slacking.
Yeah.
9 months for you. I have a better excuse than you do. I had cardiac issues. So here's the question.
Okay.
We're going to jump back on the horse.
Uh-huh.
What's your goal for this year? Cruising, and by goal, I mean, maybe think about like you're playing swing speed, or where would you like to be? Hey, I can live comfortably. I'm going to be swinging it X miles an hour on a routine day. Where do you want to get to?
I mean, 115 would be really, really nice. I mean, I was sneaking up on it, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see like how long it takes me to get back to where I was. And in terms of like that 195 weight, the actual driver weight.
Yeah.
I'm not far off. I only lost like a couple 2-3 miles an hour, but it was man, it sucked at the 65 gram weight to see that I'd lost solidly 8 miles an hour over a personal best. And I'm like, I couldn't come close. I couldn't like just swinging everything I had, just nothing.
You're trying
absolutely, positively nothing. Just, it was so bad. So bad. I hate myself over it. It's terrible.
My goal, Tony, is I would love to get into the mid-1 teens. I could, before I was kind of cruising the 110, 112-ish area prior to the cardiac issues of March 2023. But my real goal, Tony, is I want to reshoot that video of me swinging next to the long drive guy. And I want it to not look as awkward. I want it to look not like I'm him in slow motion. And if I can do that, that would be pretty good.
That's funny. So right before the hardcore slack set in, I'd kind of plateaued a little bit.
Yeah.
And Sasho asked me to send him a couple videos, see what he could see, help out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm stuck. I'm stuck at like 111, whatever. And then I'm recording these videos for him and swinging with my driver. I hit 114. And I'm like, well, all right, that's never happened before. So if I can find 114 and then stay there, and then obviously get one more because I want to be at 115, that would be
forced to be reckoned with, Tony.
That would be good by the end of the year if I could get up into that range. Mm-hmm. That would be something. And then keep going.
Well, we'll circle back on this.
Yeah,
Whole
that was a
influencer-
really long speed golf. Golf got stuck in traffic.
It happens. That's the main show for today. However, stay tuned for the after party. We'll be right back. And it's almost like we're not doing a set change. We're not changing clothes or outfits or anything like that. After party, Tony. Adams Golf. So we're going to spend a little more time here digging into the Adams Golf. We already talked, you mentioned a little things about price. Okay, now we got pictures here. So once upon a time in a land far, far away, Tony, Adams Golf was like, it dominated the senior tour or PGA Tour champions. It was the dominant, club equipment company. They kind of owned that space. Fairway woods and hybrids,
legendary hybrids,
had kind of this legendary even cultish.
Hybrids.
Can I call it a cultish following?
I mean, it's like beyond a cult status, really.
XTD was one of my favorite fairway woods of all time. The only thing I like, they had like that little triangle wrench kind of thing that kind of ticked me off. But
I know. Yeah,
whatever.
the new ones take the TaylorMade wrench because they have TaylorMade adapters, but only the driver's adjustable anyway.
So okay, you got the driver there. First things, what are kind of the first things you noticed right out of the box about it? Does it look like a scaled down TaylorMade driver?
No, it doesn't really look like a TaylorMade driver to me, and I think that's kind of the point. It's describe the whole line is. I'm trying to think, what's a way to describe this? It's not without technology, but it maybe doesn't have the TaylorMade technology. It has all of the bells, but maybe not all of the whistles.
Okay. So let me ask the question. This way, because sometimes we see this where it's like you would take the top tier technology and water it down so that you could say, hey, so here's two options. That's option one. Has all the technology, but maybe a lesser version of it. Or is it more like instead of 8 pieces of technology, they picked the top 3 or 4 that were most important and maintained the integrity of those technological pieces, but maybe just didn't include every single piece?
Yeah, there you go. I mean, so it's titanium construction. So this is TaylorMade family. So you are going to notice there's no carbon face. So TaylorMade keeps the carbon. Adams gets titanium, which is good enough for every other golf company on the planet. Carbon fiber crown.
Mm-hmm.
Velocity slot, remember, because that's what Adams called it. TaylorMade, it's like a speed pocket, but this is a velocity slot. So that's
velocity slot.
Totally different.
Very different.
And you got a fixed weight, no movable weights. It is adjustable at the hosel, but again, like it'll perform. TaylorMade says good enough to be played on tour, but probably, and I guess TaylorMade / Adams, right? Good enough to be played on tour. No expectation that it will be, because that's not really the audience here. It's precision draw weight, but it's just barely draw. It's this kind of acknowledgement that like, hey, everybody or most golfers need a little bit of draw bias. That's why basically every driver on the market, unless it's kind of that better player's design, is always, and even some of those, has some draw bias baked in. So it's nothing unusual. This isn't an SFT. It's not even a Sim 2 HD. It's slightly draw biased, but it's
draw-ish.
It's the right product for the right audience in that respect. Cosmetically, it's not super flashy, but at the same time, it doesn't look like it was mailed in. It's not jet speed.
Well, that's a thing. So let's go back to who this particular product is for. Like I said, arguably, TaylorMade is absolutely dialed in terms of its metrics, and there's some things that you and I
any idea, because as we've kind of encountered and talked to TaylorMade, they are at least in what they're willing to share with us and how they approach conversations with us, the most analytically driven company in golf right now.
I had the same feeling. I remember the first time I took the Titleist facility tour, and it was like, my Lord,
Yeah, nobody does this.
Nobody does this. Even Club Champion can't do this. These builders can't. The machinery, the precision is like, man, I would want all my clubs built here. I was really blown away with it. I had a similar feeling in talking with some of the team at TaylorMade in terms of how they look at media companies, how they allocate expenditures, how they really use data and analytics to drive what they're doing and why they're doing it. So yeah, a very impressive outfit. So when I go back to that question, okay, who is this for? TaylorMade knows exactly who it's for, who they want it to be for, but who do we think that is?
Yeah, like I said, semi-serious golfer, somebody who at least some degree strikes a good balance in his approach to the game between fun and serious competition. So it's kind of a mindset play, and obviously there is a value piece of it with prices on these being what they are. But in terms of like who the customer is, to give you a sense of when we talk to TaylorMade, it's somebody who makes maybe $85,000 a year, give or take, in some sort of project management role. And the crazy thing is, in all probability, he owns a dog. Like that's so we're just dialed in this, and this.
What else does this person maybe own? So let's play a fun little game called you go into this person's house, maybe what the house looks like, whatever, and you see a new set of Adams clubs in there. They went full on. They bought this particular set. What else does this person's world probably look like?
Probably a big TV. Yeah. I don't know. What's he got in the driveway? I don't know. Probably not. I don't know what he drives. What do you think?
Driving a Tesla? Are they driving a
Tesla?
You don't think it's a Tesla? Is it a new truck? Are they buying a new truck? Is it a Subaru?
Maybe Subaru. Kind of that, that kind of
like a
whatever. I'm up for anything. Kind of like what car says ready to go anywhere at any
Toyota
time.
4Runner, probably
something like that. I think Subaru. I like Outback. Let's do that. He owns an Outback. If you own a Subaru Outback,
has a dog, likes to golf, likes to have fun, plays Adams clubs. What else? What else, Tony? Maybe I'll ask it this way. Do you think people are going to be more inclined?
Likes a hole in the cavity of his wedge.
Do you think people are going to be more inclined with these to buy a full set, like to go all in, 13 clubs, 14 clubs?
I mean, that's the hope, and there are some different package deals, right? Full sets, partial sets, even like kind of a Sunday bag composition, if you will. So, yeah, that's all part of it, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's, with this, right, a full-on apparel lineup, lots of accessories, bags and hats and shirts. And
so that's what I was going to say that too, is
head
what
covers.
Else? So this is like an ecosystem play a little bit where there's
Join the Adams cult, man. Yeah, you can go all in on this stuff if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun.
Interesting. Yeah, I would be interested to know, say go a year from now, and this has been on the market for basically more or less a full retail season. What does TaylorMade need to see from this to determine whether it's successful or not?
I mean, it needs to sell in some quantity. I don't know what the number is, and that's the thing. Like the word from TaylorMade / Adams is like, we are fully committed to this, but whether that's fully committed, no matter what, fully committed and will adapt if we need to, or fully committed until we have to shut this down. I don't know, but I do feel like this is, at least under the current umbrella of ownership, this is probably Adams' last chance. It's
last chance summer dance.
Yeah, the name recognition here isn't going to last forever. You already have people like Adams, who cares? Where a guy like me was like, oh my God, I would love to see some real Adams heritage type product, if you will. And that's tricky here too, because there is a little bit of a dance on not stepping on TaylorMade's toes. So when you talk about like the Adams, the MB iron, that blade on blade design that was that kicked around, that was fantastic, and a whole line of, we used to call them transitional irons back in the day. They weren't game improvement, they weren't super player focused, but they kind of lived in that middle space in the category that to an extent has evolved to become player's distance. They weren't like hollow body distance designs at the time.
But you could play them from being an okay golfer or whatever until, like we said, maybe there's some shots that you want or need to be able to hit.
The ultimate tweener category, and
they were aspirational. Yeah.
So much good Adams stuff in that, and then like the smaller, not even necessarily to go into the peanut level of hybrid, which you certainly could, but a lot of like smaller-ish designs that, you know, the Stealth 2 hybrid, for example, is small, but it's not really where Adams was, where that true boxer toe style, where it was just kind of like, this is a really fat iron. You don't see a lot of those designs, really. I mean, the closest I've seen was like the TSI 3 hybrid. That was pretty close. And then Titleist was like, we're not going to do that anymore.
I was going to say, even Titleist kind of admitted, maybe we kind of overcooked it a little toward that kind of minimal design where, you know, the original, like, it's funny you mentioned the boxer one. Like, I think about that one. It kind of looked like, you know, several different dominoes glued together on the bottom of a stick. You know, it was really small and boxy and rectangular, but
so I just looked it up because I had a set, so to speak, of Adams hybrids back in the day, and I was like, which was the one that I really loved? And it was like that Adams Idea Pro A12. If you want to go track it down, I was like, this is just like, for me, that was like the perfect sized hybrid, and I haven't really seen anything in that footprint since, again, TSI 3 close, and then Titleist was like, maybe not. So it really is like truly a hybrid for guys who want no part of a hybrid. I just don't know. And even Adams Red, for all the jokes we make about red and blue, was kind of like that as well. And I just don't know if under the same corporate umbrella you would see an Adams hybrid that tackles TaylorMade in that respect. Or
no, they don't want to cannibalize. Over.
I mean, they want to keep this separate and to the extent possible non-competitive. And I think certainly under new ownership, TaylorMade is more willing to have a little bit of competition with itself, less concerned about market share than it was in the past, less concerned about winning every battle, and more willing to go, hey, you know what? We made money.
What's the bigger picture here?
Whether the logo's TaylorMade, whether it's an Adams logo, a new aggressive, fun Adams logo, whatever you want to describe that as, we still made money. And so I think that's probably how they're viewing it, but there is a point at which you can say, hey, maybe this is a little too much into TaylorMade territory. And, you know, fundamentally, there's no reason why TaylorMade couldn't make a club like that if it wanted to anyway. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun, maybe.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it...
But the C groove is back, and that for me was like, right.
So why the excitement over the C groove? Harold Swash.
Yeah, I mean, like the yes putters have been like, you know, if you played a yes putter, there was just a feel to it, just a cool look, some really cool shapes along the way.
Ooh, I may have one.
I think I had like a yes Tiffany. Maybe
I'm gonna go find.
Because they're all named after like players' wives and things like.
All right, I found two little treats here.
Oh, that's old school. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, this is the Yes Tracy 3.
Tracy.
Need to refinish it, but what Yes putters did you have back in the day?
I think I had a Tiffany, but I'm not even sure that's a real thing. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I knew a girl named Tiffany about the same time. I don't know.
They made a Tiffany. They were all lady names. Abby and Abby Forge were two of my favorite ones. Yet that wasn't it.
No,
here's the other one I found for you,
think.
Tony. Look at that thing.
Yeah, that's pretty close. That's one of the Idea series.
Little prototype tour. Little 20 degree. And it does look, I mean, there's rectangle. It is rectangular.
Yeah. That'd be fun. I hope they do that.
Why are you so excited about the C groove, though?
It's just one of those things. Like, it made for great feel, and it was one of those things where I liked yes putters and was kind of sad that they didn't go away. And even if I never play an Adams C groove putter, it's kind of nice that they're back with two shapes. Right? We got a mallet, we got a blade. Keeping it simple for now. An answer
back
kind
in
of
the day,
fang shape, whatever number that is in the Odyssey lineup, 7 maybe.
Back in the day, Yes Golf was headquartered in Denver, and I went down there. They used to do a really cool thing for high school players, coaches, whatever. It was like $100 or $150 and you could go through a tour fitting, and they would build it, kind of all right there, everything, and you could walk out with the Yes Sea Groove putter, and it was pretty cool. I was sad when they left, but glad to see the technology lives on. Here's my last question for you, Tony, on this. We know that the golf industry is a copycat industry, right? So let's assume for a second that TaylorMade finds that this works really, really well. And I will not be shocked at all if TaylorMade has identified a target population and done a good job on their research and people buy it and they go, okay, cool, this is working. Who's the next company that jumps in and tries to do something similar if this does work?
I think it has to be Callaway. I mean, that to me is logical.
Mm-hmm.
Who's most likely to kind of dabble in? And Callaway doesn't like things that maybe cut into margins, so maybe not. But if you're looking like, hey, whose revenue's focused and has enough flexibility in their identity, so I think like, hey, Callaway is rooted with the average golfer, and so they can probably do some things in that space where I think Titleist is a little too like tour elite, better player kind of. That's the mindset. That's the primary audience. So and that's what makes sense to me. No guarantee they will, but if you are trying to just always like, how do we draw differentiation between brands? And all right, like full on serious, semi-serious fun, but also kind of direct to consumer and price. That's a pretty hard line. And so I don't know if anybody else will be willing to do this. It is kind of the PXG model on this side of things.
Mm-hmm. It just, the part to me that makes so much sense is something you said earlier that resonated with me was like, whether it's the people that got pulled into golf through COVID or, the reality that let's call it 25, 26 million golfers, of which roughly 6 to 7 million do the majority of the annual buying, if you will. So they're the ones that are going to spend the $550, $600 on a new driver. They're going to, they're going to plop down $1,400, $1,600, $1,800 on a new set of irons, etc. Well, there's, these 18, 16, 17, 18 million golfers that are also consumers, I have to think. And Sub 70 has done a tremendous job in figuring out how to reach that particular golfer or that population. If this is something where TaylorMade is able to find maybe part of that segment as well, and it's beneficial economically, other companies aren't going to not notice and go, oh, geez, let's just ignore that. But some might be better positioned to jump into that fray than others. And that's kind of why I was asking. I agree with you. I think Callaway would likely be my first pick in there. I think Titleist would be my last of those, of the major ones. I could see Cobra potentially, just because, maybe not as much from a capacity standpoint, but willing to, because they don't have maybe as much of an identity to shift toward or away from to do something maybe like that a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I just wonder, like, I think the other thing that kind of makes this viable for what is now, I guess, what you have to call mainstream golf brands, is you have to sell enough of your mainstream stuff. And so I think you need to be a relatively big brand. So I don't know if Cobra is big enough.
It's a good point.
I don't know if it has enough market share to say, oh yeah, and we're also going to fracture our lineup or split it or spin it off, however you want to phrase it, and sell this other stuff for even less. So I think Callaway's positioned to do it if they want to. I don't know that they would. And the other thing you kind of wonder is, what's the market, right? If it's just, for example,
that is the question.
TaylorMade / Adams with name recognition, PXG with growing name recognition, tour credibility, more so obviously in the TaylorMade case than PXG, but some credibility there, right? Used on tour, has won on tour. And then you have kind of the true DTC guys. And again,
right.
Sub 70 gets play here and there with on some of the smaller tours.
Mm-hmm. Corn Ferry, Zach Fisher,
but not kind of on that same
TA3,
level,
but not in that main, yeah.
And so, but the question is, how much saturation can that segment of the market absorb before it's too fractured. There are too many options, and so nobody's really selling enough to sustain a presence there. So that's another thing to keep an eye on as well. I think part of the reason this can work is not a lot of people playing in this space.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out, right? Stick around. That's one of the most, that's one of the assurances in this world is stick around and you'll find out. Something's got to happen at some point, Tony, right?
The only constant is change.
And that's where we're going to finish it up for today. Words to live by, Tony Covey, Chris Nickel, Golf by T, Golf by C. Until next time, we out.